The rain on Thauron Prime fell in sheets of silver, shimmering under the alien world's twin moons. The once majestic capital now lay in ruin. Twisted spires of crystal and steel bowed like corpses under a pale sky. The war had ended years ago, but its ghosts lingered in every crater, every whisper of ash that drifted through the air. Captain Elias Wren of the Terran Vanguard trudged through the shattered remains of the Grand Palace, his boots leaving muddy tracks over once sacred ground. His armor was battered, his rifle scarred. A lone human on an alien world that wanted him gone, or so he thought. He wasn't supposed to be here. Not again. Not after what happened 6 years ago, when the Thauron War ended with both sides broken and Elias presumed dead in the Battle of Carsol Ridge. But the Vanguard had sent him back. Not as a soldier, but as a representative of peace. A face from the past, resurrected to bridge two species scarred by blood. And yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Captain Wren, his comms officer buzzed in his ear. You're approaching the Queen's Hall. Remember your mission, diplomacy, not heroics. Copy, Elias muttered, though his voice was tight. He'd seen too much war to believe in peace talks held among ruins. 2 Thauron guards flanked the massive doors ahead, tall, elegant beings with obsidian skin and eyes like molten gold. Their weapons hummed with contained plasma. They didn't move, didn't speak, just stared as Elias approached. When he reached them, one turned slightly, tapping a control panel embedded in the wall. The doors groaned open, revealing the throne chamber beyond. Or what was left of it. Inside, beneath the shattered skylight where moonlight poured like liquid glass, sat Queen Valera of Thauron, last of her line, ruler of the surviving Thauron Dominion. Her presence was magnetic, tall, regal, with iridescent violet skin and hair that flowed like black silk laced with starlight. Her armor gleamed faintly in the pale glow, shaped not for war, but for dignity. Her eyes, however, burned with memories of both. And when she saw him, truly saw him, her entire body went still. Her lips parted, and a single trembling breath escaped. You were supposed to be dead. The words echoed in the chamber like a prophecy denied. Middle, the dead man returns. Elias froze. He had been warned that Queen Valera might react with hostility, but this wasn't anger. It was disbelief.
Pain.
I get that a lot, Elias said quietly, lowering his rifle and removing his helmet. The moment he did, a gasp rippled through the hall. His face was scarred but unmistakably human, and unmistakably the same man who'd once saved the Queen's life at the cost of his own. Valera rose from her throne, her golden eyes wide. She descended the steps slowly, each movement fluid, deliberate. A predator approaching something she didn't trust to be real. When Carsol Ridge burned, she whispered, I saw your dropship explode. The sky turned to fire. You carried me out of the blast zone, human. You shouldn't have survived. I didn't, Elias said, his voice hard. At least, not in any way that makes sense. The Queen tilted her head, studying him like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Explain. He sighed. The Vanguard had tech, experimental medpods. They found my body 3 days after the ridge fell. Barely alive. They rebuilt me cell by cell and kept it classified. To them, I was just another tool to send back into the field. Valera's jaw tightened. A ghost soldier. Yeah, Elias murmured. Something like that. She stared at him for a long moment. Then her voice softened, almost a whisper. And now they send you to me. The man I mourned, the one who saved my life. They send you to negotiate peace. I didn't choose this assignment, he admitted, but I had to see it through. Too much blood's been spilled. We both know that. The queen's eyes flickered. Something ancient and wounded glimmered behind them. She turned away, walking toward the remnants of a mural that once depicted her ancestors' rise to power. Now, the faces were scorched away. When you died, she said, our people blamed yours. They called you monsters. But I remembered the human who shielded me from the firestorm, who carried me through the ruins while your own soldiers died all around you. Elias swallowed hard. And I remembered the alien who refused to abandon her enemies, who tried to stop her generals from bombing a surrendering colony. For a moment, the silence between them was not cold. It was shared. Then, without warning, the palace trembled. A distant explosion rattled the walls. The guards shouted in their tongue, activating their weapons. Elias instinctively raised his rifle. Status, he barked. Valera's aide rushed in, panting. Your Majesty, rogue faction. They've breached the perimeter. They claim the peace talks are a betrayal. Elias cursed. Of course. There's always someone who wants to finish the war. Valera's eyes flared with anger, not at him, but at the universe itself. I will not let them desecrate this meeting. She turned to Elias. Come with me, human, if you still remember how to fight. He smirked grimly. It's all I remember. Middle, Part 2. Fire and Memory. The corridors of the palace roared with chaos. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, guards shouted commands, and the sharp scent of ozone filled the lungs. Elias and Valera moved in perfect rhythm, back to back, their movements instinctual, echoes of the battlefield they once shared. For all their differences, they fought as one. Elias fired short bursts, cutting down advancing insurgents in gleaming armor marked with crimson glyphs, the old war symbols of the Thalrin Purity Legion. Valera, her energy staff blazing with violet flame, spun and struck with elegant precision, her power humming through the air like thunder trapped in glass. You still fight like a human, she shouted between blows. And you still talk too much, he shot back, grinning through the smoke. A bolt grazed his shoulder, pain flared, and Valera reacted instantly, sweeping her staff in a lethal arc that disintegrated the attacker. When the dust settled, the corridor was silent again, littered with bodies and embers. Elias exhaled slowly, leaning against a column. You saved my life. Again. Valera's expression softened. We seemed to trade the favor endlessly. Then her tone shifted, quieter, more dangerous. They will come again. The Purity Legion believes humans tainted our evolution. If they capture you, they will make your death slow. He smirked, though his chest ached. Wouldn't be the first time. She stared at him, frowning. Do you joke because you are fearless, or because you are broken? Elias met her gaze, and for once, he didn't look away. Both. For a heartbeat, her eyes softened. Then she turned sharply and started walking. Follow me. There is something you must see. Middle, Part 3. The Hall of Remembrance. They descended into the heart of the palace, a vast, circular chamber filled with floating stasis crystals, each containing shimmering holograms of fallen warriors. The Hall of Remembrance. In the center stood two larger crystals, intertwined, one glowing blue, the other gold. Valera approached them slowly. Do you know what these are? Elias shook his head. They are memory vaults, she said. One for me, one for you. He blinked. Me? She touched the blue crystal, his. Inside, a holographic image flickered to life. Elias, kneeling beside a wounded Valera, shielding her as fire rained down around them. When the battle ended, she whispered, I ordered your likeness preserved. a monument to the human who defied his orders to save an enemy queen. You became legend among my people. Elias stepped closer, his reflection merging with the hologram. A legend, he murmured bitterly.
Funny.
Back home, they buried me in an unmarked grave. Valera turned toward him, her voice trembling now. You were never my enemy, Elias Wren. You were the proof that not all humans thirsted for conquest. He looked up at her. And you were proof that not all aliens wanted humanity extinct. The distance between them felt fragile, like the space between two broken stars. Then the alarms blared again, louder this time. The aide's voice crackled through the calm. Your Majesty, they've breached the hall. You must evacuate. Before the message finished, the far doors exploded inward. A squad of Purity Legion soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Their leader, a towering Thauran general clad in crimson armor, sneered. So it's true, he spat. The human ghost lives, and our queen kneels beside him. Valera's eyes blazed. General Veckrith, stand down. This is sacred ground. Veckrith laughed. Sacred? You desecrate our ancestors by consorting with the filth that nearly destroyed us. He raised his weapon. I will cleanse this shame. Elias didn't hesitate. He lunged, firing in controlled bursts. The room erupted into chaos once more. Climax, the queen and the ghost. The fight was brutal. Elias took two soldiers before a blast threw him against the wall. His vision blurred, pain blooming across his ribs. Valera stood her ground, her staff spinning in arcs of plasma light, striking with fury born of grief. But Veckrith was relentless. His blade cut through her defenses, striking her shoulder. Elias roared, hurling himself at the general. The two collided in a tangle of steel and fire. You shouldn't exist. Veckrith snarled. You died. Stay dead. Elias gritted his teeth. Sorry to disappoint. With a final surge, he slammed his rifles but into Veckrith's faceplate, shattering it. The alien fell to the floor, gasping. The surviving Legion soldiers hesitated, their leader beaten, their queen still standing. Valera straightened, her staff glowing with fierce light. Lay down your arms, she commanded, voice echoing with royal authority. The war is over. One by one, the soldiers dropped their weapons. Elias sank to his knees, exhausted, blood dripping from his temple. Valera approached him, her hand trembling as she reached for his face. You bleed for a world not your own, she whispered. Why? He met her gaze weakly. Because peace has got to start somewhere. Might as well be with us. Something in her expression broke, the composure, the regal distance. She knelt beside him, eyes wet with tears that shimmered like starlight. Elias, she whispered, you were supposed to be dead. He smiled faintly. Guess I didn't get the memo. Her hand brushed his cheek, warm, alien real. Then live, she said fiercely. Live for both our worlds, ending a new dawn. Days later, the smoke cleared. The Purity Legion was dissolved, its remaining members swearing allegiance to the new peace accord between Thauran and Earth. And in the Grand Chamber, beneath banners of both species, two figures stood side by side, the Queen and the human who had once died to save her. Do you regret returning? She asked quietly, as the council prepared to sign the treaty. Elias looked out across the hall. Regret?
No.
But it's strange, being alive in a world that buried you. Valera smiled faintly. Perhaps that's what peace is, learning to live after death. He chuckled softly. If anyone can teach me that, it's you. As the signatures were sealed, the galaxy's oldest war officially ended. Later, when the hall emptied and the moons rose again, Valera stood beside Elias on the balcony overlooking her restored city. "The universe has strange ways," she murmured. "Once you were my enemy, then my savior. Now something else entirely." Elias turned toward her, his voice low. "And what am I now?" She met his gaze, unflinching, eternal. "Alive," she whispered. "And that's enough." Under the twin moons of Thalrin Prime, a human soldier and an alien queen stood together, not as symbols of war, but as proof that even the dead can rise to build something worth living for.